Tonight, I want to explore something far beyond the physical, something that touches the mind and the soul. When we talk about having a better connection, most people expect advice about physical tricks, special routines, or secret formulas. But the truth is, genuine intimacy doesn't begin with the body, it begins in the mind. We spend so much of our lives believing that fulfillment is about technique or appearance. Yet what truly defines closeness is the emotional landscape we bring into it. Every fear, every unspoken thought, every quiet insecurity, these shape the way we love, desire, and connect. So before we even talk about what makes something attractive, let's ask, what makes a moment feel alive? What turns a simple encounter into something sacred, memorable, or even transformative? At the heart of every desire lies something deeper, loneliness. We spend most of our days feeling unseen, misunderstood, and distant from others. And then, sometimes something rare happens. Another human being allows us in. They see us, not as we pretend to be, but as we truly are. In that space, even the most ordinary touch feels extraordinary. That's what intimacy really is. Two people building a small, private world where their imperfections are no longer hidden, but accepted. What might seem shameful or strange with one person becomes beautiful and comforting with another. That is why real closeness feels both thrilling and healing. It's not about perfection, but about being fully known and still accepted. The psychology of desire. Desire isn't just an instinct. It's a story we tell ourselves about who we are, what we long for, and what we fear to lose. To understand intimacy, we must first understand the mind that creates it. What we call sexiness or attraction isn't random. It's the mind's way of searching for something that feels missing, something that reminds us of home, even if home was imperfect. Attraction is never only about the body. It's about recognition, seeing in another person something we've lost or have been longing to find. Sometimes we are drawn to someone because they seem wild, unpredictable, and free, qualities that our own life may have quieted down. Other times, we are drawn to someone calm and reliable because our world feels chaotic and unstable. The people we find magnetic often represent the parts of ourselves that we've exiled or forgotten. Psychologists have long said that love and desire are mirrors. They show us who we are and what we still need to heal. When someone turns us on, it's not only because of their beauty, but because something about them awakens a silent part of us. Their eyes, their laugh, their gestures, they trigger something ancient within us, something that whispers, "Here you might be safe. Here you might be understood." And yet, this very power of attraction can confuse us, because what feels magnetic isn't always what's good for us. The heart doesn't choose logically, it seeks familiarity. We are often drawn to what we know, even when what we know once hurt us. A controlling person may remind us of a parent who once withheld affection. A charming but unreliable partner might echo an old wound from childhood, one that keeps replaying in new forms. So when we ask, why does this person attract me? We are really asking, what part of myself am I trying to find? True intimacy starts when we begin to see these patterns clearly. When attraction isn't just something that happens to us, but something we can understand and reflect on. The more self-aware we become, the deeper our relationships grow, because then desire isn't blind anymore. It becomes a conscious act of knowing, of choosing. In real love, what's sexy isn't just the physical thrill. It's trust. It's the strange comfort of knowing that you can reveal your rough edges, and they'll still stay. It's the ability to surrender without losing dignity, to express wildness without losing respect. That's the paradox of closeness. It's both soft and strong, vulnerable yet powerful. When two people truly trust one another, even things that might seem strange or taboo to others can become beautiful between them. What matters is not the act itself, but the meaning behind it. A gesture that might look aggressive to an outsider could, within the safety of love, express deep acceptance, the willingness to embrace every side of the other person. This is why real intimacy is sacred, because it allows the hidden, unspoken parts of us to breathe. The things we were once ashamed of, our body, our impulses, our weaknesses, are suddenly met with kindness. It's as though someone says, "You don't need to hide anymore. I see you, and I'm still here." That moment, more than anything else, is what makes an encounter feel alive. Not the technique, not the performance, but the emotional honesty that flows underneath. Desire becomes a language, one that says, "I trust you with who I really am." We often underestimate how much trust it takes to be fully ourselves in front of another person. To let someone see you in your most unguarded moments requires courage. It requires a leap of faith that they will not judge you, abandon you, or mock you for what they see. And yet, that leap is where real connection is born. Our culture often treats attraction as something shallow, as if being drawn to someone's body is a kind of weakness. But the truth is, the body is not separate from the mind or soul. When someone turns us on, it isn't only their appearance that moves us. It's what their physical presence represents: confidence, vulnerability, mystery, kindness, or a reflection of something deeply human. So when we say, "I find this person beautiful," what we often mean is something in them reflects the best or the lost parts of me. Beauty, then, is not objective. It's personal, intimate. It's the language of recognition, where one soul says to another, "I know you." But if attraction is a mirror, it also means that no two people will ever find the same person equally appealing. Each of us carries a different history, a different emotional imprint. What one finds irresistible, another might find ordinary. And that's the quiet poetry of human connection. We are all drawn to different pieces of the puzzle, seeking the one that fits the shape of our longing. Think for a moment about your own patterns. The people who have drawn you in, the ones who left a mark, what do they all share? Were they calm when you needed peace? Chaotic when you felt trapped? Gentle when you were harsh with yourself? Each attraction carries a message, a hint about who you are and what you need to grow. Understanding this doesn't kill the mystery of desire. It deepens it. It helps you see that what turns you on isn't just random chemistry. It's your subconscious calling out for balance, for healing, for wholeness. So the next time someone makes your heart race or your mind wander, don't just ask, "Why them?" Ask also, "Why now?" What part of me are they waking up? What lesson are they here to teach? Asterisk, because every attraction, no matter how fleeting, offers a mirror. And in that mirror, we see not only the other person, but ourselves. That, in truth, is the essence of desire, the search for completion. Not in another person, but through them, a bridge to understanding who we are and who we're still becoming. When touch becomes a language. In a world obsessed with speed, numbers, and control, we often forget the simplest truth. The human beings are made to connect. Not through screens or words, but through presence. Through the quiet language of touch. Touch is not just physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the silent conversation between two souls that says, "I see you. I'm here. You matter." But somewhere along the way, we lost that language. We began to confuse attention with affection, lust with love, closeness with possession. We started treating intimacy like a transaction, something to earn, perform, or control, rather than something to feel. And maybe that's why so many people can share a bed but still feel alone. Because true intimacy doesn't begin with the body. It begins with the mind and the courage to be seen. It takes strength to say, "This is who I am, with all my fears, my insecurities, my softness." It takes courage to allow someone to touch your truth, not just your skin. The modern world teaches us to hide our flaws, to polish our image, to protect our hearts behind filters and masks. But the irony is, what we hide most is exactly what makes us beautiful. Real connection begins when two people stop pretending, when the mask falls and the silence becomes safe. When touch becomes more than desire, it becomes recognition. Because sometimes the most powerful moments don't come from what we do, but from what we allow ourselves to feel. A hand resting on yours, a slow breath shared in the dark, a heartbeat that doesn't rush to impress, only to be understood. We talk so much about compatibility, attraction, and chemistry, but we forget about presence, the ability to really be there, to listen without trying to fix, to touch without trying to take, to love without trying to own. Sex can be easy to find, but true intimacy, that's rare, because it demands honesty, vulnerability, time. And in a world built on distraction, giving someone your undivided attention is one of the purest acts of love. Love isn't fireworks every night. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, like a candle that refuses to go out no matter how strong the wind gets. Real love doesn't rush. It doesn't perform. It doesn't demand perfection. It grows slowly between moments of laughter, silence, and forgiveness. And intimacy, real intimacy, is not about what happens between two bodies, but what awakens between two souls. It's not measured in how often you touch, but in how deeply you see each other. There's a moment, if you've ever been lucky enough to feel it, when time slows down, when the noise of the world fades, and all that remains is warmth. That is the moment when touch becomes a language. When two people forget where one ends and the other begins. That is love without fear. That is connection without agenda. That is the kind of closeness that heals. Because in truth, we don't crave bodies. We crave safety. We crave to be understood, to be held without being fixed, to be desired without being used. And maybe that's what intimacy really is, the place where we stop performing and start existing. The moment when you realize that being seen, truly seen, is far more erotic than being desired. There is power in stillness. There is beauty in slowness. There is magic in honesty. If the world taught us anything, it's that physical pleasure fades, but emotional connection lasts. The person who touches your heart will always matter more than the one who only touches your body. So the next time you reach for someone, don't just touch their skin, touch their being. Listen not just to their words, but to their silence. See not just their face, but their story. Because one day, when the world slows down and all the noise disappears, what you'll remember won't be the moments of passion, but the moments of peace. The ones where you felt safe, understood, home. That is the real language of touch. The one we were all born knowing, and the one we spend our whole lives trying to remember. When love starts to fade, love never really disappears, it transforms. It starts as fire, wild and consuming. Then it becomes warmth, quiet, steady, almost invisible. And if not cared for, it fades into habit. In the beginning, love feels effortless. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. Every message feels special. Every silence feels full. But as time passes, that magic begins to settle. The same person who once made your heart race starts feeling distant, distracted, unreachable. And you start wondering, what changed? The truth is, nothing changed suddenly. Love rarely dies in explosions. It fades in small, quiet moments. The missed conversations, the hugs that last a little shorter, the eyes that stop searching for each other in a crowd. We often blame time, stress, or responsibilities, but sometimes the real reason is simpler. We stop choosing each other. See, love isn't something that stays alive on its own. It's something we have to keep nurturing like a flame. It needs attention, vulnerability, and effort. But most people forget that. They think commitment is the finish line, not the beginning. So we stop asking questions. We stop listening. We start assuming. And slowly, the relationship becomes a pattern, a routine we perform instead of a connection we feel. We start living together, but not with each other. The laughter becomes rare. The touch becomes mechanical. The silence becomes heavy. That's how emotional disconnection begins. Not with fights, but with absence. Not with words, but with distance. It's a strange kind of loneliness, being next to someone, yet feeling completely alone. You share the same space, the same bed, maybe even the same dreams, but your hearts no longer meet where they used to. And when that happens, most people look for distraction instead of reflection. They scroll, they escape, they fill the emptiness with noise, anything but the truth. Because facing disconnection means facing yourself. It means asking, have I stopped showing up with honesty? Have I stopped seeing my partner as a person and started seeing them as a duty? We all crave the version of love that feels easy, exciting, effortless. But real love is the kind that stays when things are hard. It's choosing to stay curious about someone even after years together. It's finding beauty in the ordinary. Because long-term love isn't about always feeling the spark. It's about protecting it, even when the fire burns low. Every relationship goes through seasons: spring, where everything blossoms; summer, where passion burns; autumn, where things start to cool; and winter, where silence becomes a test. But love is not about avoiding winter. It's about learning to light a fire through it. Emotional disconnection doesn't mean love is gone. Sometimes it's love's way of asking for attention. It's saying, remember me, remember us, remember why we began. To heal disconnection, you don't need grand gestures. You need presence. You need to look again, to listen again, to touch again, not with habit, but with intention. Because every relationship dies the moment it becomes automatic. And every relationship can be reborn the moment it becomes conscious again. So talk, even if your voices tremble. Touch, even if it feels unfamiliar. Listen, even when it's uncomfortable. Because communication is not about talking. It's about understanding. It's not about proving you're right. It's about remembering you're on the same side. Sometimes, love fades not because it's over, but because both people stopped showing up fully. They stopped expressing. They started assuming that love could read their mind. But love isn't magic. It's a practice. It's built in small acts of care, everyday empathy, and the courage to stay soft even when the world hardens you. And if you ever find yourself standing at that edge between love and disconnection, ask yourself, am I reacting or am I reaching? Because the difference can save everything. Reaching means trying again, even when you're tired. It means remembering that behind every wall is someone who's afraid of being unseen. It means realizing that connection doesn't need perfection. It needs attention. The truth is, love doesn't need to feel new. It needs to feel real. And real love often looks like patience. Like choosing to understand instead of judge. Like staying even when the spark has dimmed. Because you know the flame can be rekindled. When love matures, it stops shouting and starts whispering. It becomes gentle, the kind that says, I'm still here. And in a world where leaving is easy, staying becomes sacred. So if your love feels distant, don't rush to replace it. Reach to repair it. Don't search for new excitement. Search for new understanding. Because sometimes the deepest intimacy isn't found in passion, but in peace. Not in what's said, but in what's shared in silence. And maybe that's what true love really is. Not the fire that burns endlessly, but the one that refuses to die. Love in the age of distraction. There was a time when love grew slowly, letter by letter, moment by moment. When silence wasn't something to escape, but something two people shared in peace. Now, silence feels awkward. Distance feels unbearable. And connection, real, human connection, feels harder to find in a world that never stops moving. We live in an age of constant distraction. Every vibration, every notification, every glowing screen competes for our attention. And somewhere between the messages and the scrolling, we forgot how to be present. We've become addicted to the illusion of closeness. Always connected, but rarely connecting. We talk every day, but say nothing real. We post about love, but forget how to feel it. We share our lives with the world, yet hide our hearts from the people who matter most. Technology gave us access to everything, except peace. It gave us followers, not listeners. Messages, not meaning. It gave us attention, but not understanding. And love, in its purest form, cannot survive in the noise. Because love needs presence. It needs silence. It needs space to breathe. We chase validation through likes and hearts, forgetting that real affection doesn't need proof. It needs depth. We measure love through constant replies, not real connection. We think closeness is about how often someone texts, not how deeply they understand us. But love was never meant to be instant. It was meant to unfold, slowly, gently, with patience. In a world obsessed with speed, love asks for slowness. In a culture built on control, love asks for surrender. Yet today, we run from both. We've replaced depth with distraction, vulnerability with filters, communication with convenience. We don't say, "I miss you." We send emojis. We don't say, "I'm hurting." We post quotes. We don't say, "I love you." We assume they know. But hearts don't read captions. They read attention. They read presence. They read effort. And that's what's missing in modern love, effort. We've grown so used to instant everything, instant food, instant success, instant comfort, that we started expecting instant love too. But love doesn't work that way. Love takes time, trust, and patience. It's not a notification, it's a commitment. We scroll through people the way we scroll through playlists, searching for something that fits our mood, forgetting that love isn't meant to entertain us. It's meant to transform us. And the truth is, the more we chase perfection online, the lonelier we become offline. Because the world of screens is beautiful, but empty. It gives us connection without closeness, communication without emotion, attention without understanding. It's easier to fall for an illusion than to face the truth of someone's flaws. But love is not about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about saying, "I see your darkness, and I still choose your light." The tragedy of modern love is that we're surrounded by people, but starving for connection. We've confused exposure with intimacy. We know how to share our stories, but not how to live them together. Sometimes we meet someone who makes us feel everything. And instead of building something real, we rush to label it, post it, prove it. But love doesn't need an audience. It only needs two people who are willing to show up, fully, consistently, quietly. Because true love is not found in noise. It's found in presence. It's not loud, it's calm. It doesn't demand attention. It earns it. Every moment we spend looking down at a screen is a moment we miss looking into someone's eyes. And maybe that's why modern love feels so fragile, because we've forgotten how to look up. We've forgotten the warmth of genuine laughter, the power of silence shared between hearts, the beauty of imperfection. We've forgotten how to be bored together, how to simply be without needing something to scroll through. Love is not dying, it's waiting for us to slow down, to listen again, to touch again, to feel again. Because deep down, the human heart hasn't changed. It still longs for connection, raw, real, honest. It still yearns for someone who listens, not just hears, who sees beyond the filters and words, who stays even when the phone is off. We spend our lives searching for the one, but maybe what we really need is to become the one who knows how to love in a world that forgot what love means. To love without comparing, to care without calculating, to give without recording. Because real love isn't something you find, it's something you build, brick by brick, word by word, day by day. And in a world that's constantly asking for more, maybe love is the only thing that asks us to pause. So, the next time you reach for your phone, reach for someone's hand instead. The next time you feel lonely online, step outside, look at the sky, and remember that life is happening right now. The most beautiful moments aren't captured, they're lived. The truest love stories aren't shared, they're felt. And one day, when all the noise fades, you'll realize that the only connection that ever mattered was the one that made you feel alive. The art of loving again. When two people drift apart, it rarely happens in a single moment. There isn't one fight, one word, or one silence that ends it all. It happens quietly, like dust settling on something once beautiful. One day, you look at the person beside you, and you realize they've become a stranger. And perhaps, even more painfully, you realize you've become one too. Love doesn't always die. Sometimes it simply forgets how to breathe. But the beautiful truth is, what is lost can still be found. Not by forcing it, not by pretending nothing changed, but by learning the delicate art of beginning again, with the same person or with yourself. Because healing love is not about going back to what it was. It's about creating something new from what remains. When the storms of misunderstanding pass and the noise fades, what's left behind is raw and real. Two hearts, stripped of illusion, still longing for connection. That's where the rebuilding begins. Healing starts the moment we stop blaming and start understanding. When we no longer see love as a transaction, but as a transformation. When we stop asking, what did I get from this? And start asking, what did I learn? Every broken relationship teaches us something, not just about others, but about ourselves, about our fears, our patterns, our walls, about the love we were never taught to give and the tenderness we never knew how to receive. It's easy to love when everything feels light and effortless. But real love, mature love, is what survives the darkness. It's the kind that stays when the spark fades, that chooses to understand when words fail, that grows roots instead of running away. In a world that glorifies new beginnings, we forget the sacred beauty of staying, of trying again, of choosing the same soul, not because it's easy, but because it's real. Love asks for bravery, not the kind that conquers mountains, but the kind that says, I'm scared, but I'll still show up. To love again after heartbreak is an act of courage. It's choosing to trust when your heart still trembles. It's letting someone see your scars without hiding them. It's whispering, I'm still here, when your voice shakes. The truth is, love doesn't heal you by being perfect. It heals you by making you honest. It holds a mirror to everything you've avoided, your doubts, your wounds, your deepest fears, and asks you to face them. And that's why real intimacy can feel terrifying. Because it's not about bodies, it's about souls. It's not about passion, it's about presence. It's not about what happens between two people. It's about what awakens within them. Love is a teacher, the kind that tests you before it explains the lesson. And the greatest lesson of all is this. You cannot be loved fully until you love yourself deeply. Not the perfect version of yourself. Not the one who hides pain behind smiles. But the one who admits, I am flawed, but I am still worthy. When you reach that point, when you accept your own humanity, love transforms. It stops being a chase and starts being a home. You stop searching for people to complete you and start finding people who complement you. You stop measuring love by how much attention you get and start feeling it in how peaceful your heart becomes. Sometimes the most powerful love stories aren't about two people finding each other, but about one person finding themselves after losing everything. Love begins again when we choose softness in a world that rewards hardness. When we choose patience over pride. When we forgive, not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight of the past so you can walk forward unburdened. You can't change what happened, but you can change what it means. Every heartbreak, every goodbye, every silence, they weren't endings. They were lessons in disguise. They taught you that love is not pain. It's not control. It's not chaos. Love is calm. It's quiet strength. It's choosing someone and yourself over and over again. And when you finally understand that, you stop begging to be understood and start becoming understanding. You stop demanding love and start giving it freely. You stop chasing perfect and start embracing real. Because love was never about finding someone to make you happy. It was about finding someone who helps you grow. Someone who reminds you that even when life breaks you open, you can still bloom. And that's the secret no one tells you. Every great love story, every lasting connection is not built on perfection, but on forgiveness, patience, and presence. It's built in the small things, the quiet dinners, the shared silences, the laughter that returns after the storm. It's built when two people decide, again and again, to stay curious about each other, to keep learning each other's hearts, to never stop saying, tell me how you feel. Because real love doesn't fade, it evolves. It matures. It deepens. And in that evolution, you find peace. So if you're standing in the ruins of what once was, don't mourn it. Rebuild it with new honesty, with softer hands, with wiser hearts. And if you've lost someone, not just their body, but their trust, don't let that loss define you. Let it refine you. Love again, not because you forgot the pain, but because you learned what love truly means. Because at the end of it all, we realize love isn't something we find. It's something we become. When your heart loves freely, forgives easily, and hopes endlessly, you've already found what you were searching for. And maybe, just maybe, that's what love was trying to teach you all along.